Welcome to Straight from the CPA's Mouth, your connection to the Heshie CPA Knowledge Center, Alberta CPAs, and business professionals. This podcast, presented by the CPA Education Foundation, features Alberta Chartered Professional Accountants and others sharing their expertise and insights on a wide range of topics. Tune in regularly for eye-opening looks on leadership, business, education, and many issues of the day, straight from the CPA's mouth. Before we begin, in honor of the 94 calls to action put forth by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, we'd like to acknowledge that CPA Education Foundation offices are situated on the traditional Treaty 6 and Treaty 7 territories. The Foundation acknowledges that we reside on traditional and ancestral territories of many Indigenous, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Their histories and culture influence our community to this day. The CPA Education Foundation is committed to helping build a province where Indigenous peoples and their voices and experiences are heard, valued, respected, and celebrated. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of Straight from the CPA's Mouth. I'm excited to welcome our listeners back to what is sure to be an exciting season. My name is Nikay Fabii with the CPA Education Foundation, the charitable arm of the CPA profession in Alberta, and I'll be your host for this episode. Each summer, the profession celebrates the accomplishments of Alberta Chartered Professional Accountants through the CPA Alberta Achievement Awards. Recipients of the awards are nominated for their dedication, community service, and professional achievement. In the words of Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. When I think of an Achievement Award recipient, I think of excellence. I think of people who make a habit of going above and beyond in everything they do. I would like to congratulate the 40 individuals who received a 2021 CPA Alberta Achievement Award. Thank you for your dedication to the profession and the communities you serve. Joining me today via Zoom is Christine Leung, CPA, a recipient of the 2021 CPA Alberta Early Achievement Award, an award created to recognize early career CPAs who have made significant achievements in their first 10 years as a chartered professional accountant. Christine is a senior consultant in the management consulting practice at KPMG and has volunteered hundreds of hours annually to a variety of organizations in Calgary. Christine currently sits on the board of the National Hope Movement, an initiative that seeks to decrease the stigma around mental health. Let's hear Christine's thoughts on being a CPA Alberta Achievement Award recipient straight from the CPA's mouth. Christine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, I think we can just jump right into it. How did you feel when you learned you would be receiving an Early Achievement Award?
It was really exciting. I think such an honor just to be, first of all, nominated among all the different individuals that also received an Early Achievement Award. I think just being able to know that the work in the community has been recognized, not only among just with me, but with all the other colleagues that I have volunteered with that have noticed the impact that all of our collective work has gone towards. That was definitely a huge honor. And so, yeah, that honestly just a lot of happiness, gratefulness, a lot of gratitude.
That's wonderful. Who did you share your good news with first?
I was actually with a friend when I found out. So it was really exciting just to be able to get the phone call and be able to, after hearing that I was nominated, that all the recognition had actually gone towards the award, and the final result was what they had hoped for. And so, yeah, that was probably the first. And then outside of that, of course, family and friends and the people that had nominated me. It was really exciting just to be able to share the news with everyone that contributed towards making it happen.
Right. I was going to say, I'm sure your nominators were so pleased knowing that they could do that for you. And then hearing that news, I think, would have been so exciting, especially because it's kept a secret for kind of a while. So.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I think I know there's a lot that goes into it with just like community letters and being able to showcase just different things that have been done within the community with these different organizations. So it was definitely really exciting to share that with the team and all the people that had helped to actually make it happen.
Absolutely. So I guess looking back to, pre-award recipient Christine, younger Christine, I hate to kind of use this phrase of what did you want to be when you grew up, but what motivated you to pursue a career as a chartered professional accountant? Did you have any, mentors in high school or university that influenced that career path, or was it something that you just knew from a young age you wanted to do?
For sure. Yeah, I think the first mentor I actually remember thinking back to my early university days was probably actually a doctor that I job shadowed. And so originally when I came into university, I was on that path. I love working with people. Healthcare was very fascinating for me. And so I had actually done all my prerequisites to go down that path. And while I was actually job shadowing a doctor, he noticed some of the skills I had with interacting with patients and encouraged me to maybe consider doing business as an undergrad. And the kind of traditional path is usually going into sciences.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I finished all my prerequisites, I actually went into business and had to declare my specialization right away. And they had a mentorship program with the university that I attended. And I was connected with a chief operating officer who was also a chartered accountant. And he encouraged me to consider pursuing my CPA just because of all the benefits that he had seen in his career through having his CPA. And even though he's now in the operations field and leading that team, he spoke highly of what the CPA has done in terms of helping him to understand the numbers, really have some credibility behind, even in a different field, being able to connect the dots for a lot of different cross-functional teams. And so those are probably two individuals I would definitely contribute a lot of my decision-making to in becoming a CPA.
That's great. So you did mention that the CEO was the one who kind of encouraged that designation and for the credibility that it provides and the ability to, I guess, shift your career kind of quickly. So can you talk a little bit about the progression of your career so far? So what types of companies have you worked for or positions have you held as an early career CPA?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely say that the CPA designation is probably one of the most well-rounded. If you look at different individuals who have gone down the non-traditional paths outside of finance and accounting, it really opens a lot of doors in terms of just understanding business, understanding strategy, learning how to problem solve and have critical thinking skills. And so within my own career, I've seen the kind of traditional service lines, such as audit and tax, that a lot of individuals will pursue their CPA designation through. But as well, now being in management consulting, I now specialize in people and change. And so a lot of the work I do has been kind of pivoted towards the strategic side and understanding how do organizations really kind of foster culture? How do we develop leaders? How do we ensure inclusion and diversity? So a lot of big topics that maybe people wouldn't necessarily relate the CPA to, but I would definitely say that the CPA has prepared me for a lot of the big questions that I've been asked now being in a completely different field.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to ask you, because you said you work primarily in people and change now and leadership development. So what does a typical day for you look like? Because it's definitely not that, I guess, traditional accounting role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would say every day looks very different depending on the different projects I'm on. So a lot of the time, many people associate kind of the words people and change with HR, which is a huge part of the work that we do.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, some of the other streams that I mentioned, we depending on the type of project. So for example, if I was on an organizational design project, I might be working with corporations and teams to understand how their companies are structured in terms of the different roles, the different responsibilities, how many people do we need at different levels. So a lot of that more big picture thinking, but at the same time, the analysis that happens in the background to understand what the company's needs are, to know maybe what the leaders' visions are for the organization. So different things kind of come into play within People and Change that I find my CPA designation also is able to integrate into, especially when it comes to connecting the finance and accounting worlds with other service lines such as HR.
That's great. So it seems that, having your CPA designation has really helped you progress your career fairly quickly. Can you think of any specific examples or of opportunities that have come your way because of the designation, professional or just even in terms of your volunteer work as well?
Yeah, for sure. I would say definitely kind of the different volunteer roles within boards and like especially nonprofit boards and like being able to contribute in a meaningful way, not only in just kind of brainstorming different ideas, but also making sure that there's accountability with the numbers. So all different facets, like I think being able to offer kind of like larger scale perspective really has helped. So, and that I think that way of thinking really is encouraged in this with the CPA designation, especially in the way that it's structured with presenting different real life cases and really emphasizing the need for looking at it from both a qualitative and quantitative perspective. I think that's really helped me in a lot of the leadership roles I've had within volunteering. But then at the same time in my career, I would say the CPA has really prepared me for a lot of the workshops and presentations I've had to do as well. So giving me confidence to be able to speak to people that are often more senior than me, or be able to articulate the data in a way that's meaningful to the clients. So those are kind of different ways that I've found the CPA has helped me in both my career as well as my different volunteering roles.
That's great, and probably in ways that you didn't necessarily expect when you were going through the program and taking the modules and completing your work experience.
Definitely. So yeah, I completely agree. Like I think a lot of the time, the work itself, the assignments and the modules themselves are only one kind of piece of the puzzle. I found it was a lot of the skills outside of that that I've really taken and incorporated into the rest of my career and that I will probably incorporate moving forward.
That's really great. So aside from your volunteer experience with the board that you currently sit on, what other organizations have you volunteered with, and how have those experiences positively impacted your life?
Sounds good. I think probably I'll focus on a couple. The first one that I have volunteered with pretty extensively is actually the Calgary Youth Justice Society. So starting back when I was in university, I have done a lot of volunteer work with them, and I am very passionate about working with youth and as well young professionals or university students, just because I remember how much of an impact it had on me. Some of the mentors that I described earlier, I owe a lot of just where I am now to them, because if it wasn't for their wisdom and a lot of the advice or even the potential that they saw in me, I think that my life would probably have gone in a very different direction. And so I think being able to give back in that way and work with youth, especially with the Calgary Youth Justice Society, we work with vulnerable youth and youth at risk. So what happens is they'll match these youth with young professionals who are able to share experiences with them, help to maybe focus on the strengths and the skills that they see within their mentees, and then really build upon that and help them to gain the confidence to pursue whatever it is their goals or their dreams are.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one organization I volunteered at I was very active with for a number of years. And then kind of related to that, and an organization that is also one that CPA is very connected with is the Martin Family Initiative. And so that one also works with high school students, particularly of a First Nations background. And so that organization I really appreciated because it blended both my passion for working with young people with the cultural aspect of really learning to appreciate Indigenous culture and how does that tie into the whole mentorship process. So I really appreciated how it allowed us as young professionals to be able to share some real life advice with these students and help them to prepare for things such as budgeting, even learning how to manage moving out for the first time. So these different life skills that I find aren't often focused on within like an educational setting, but within a mentorship program are skills that we can help prepare them for.
That's great. And I agree. I think a lot of times some of those more basic life skills can often be overlooked. And you even mentioning with the Martin Family Initiative, your work with the First Nations, I'm sure that has even helped you in the role that you're in now with People and Change and some of those diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives that you were talking about a little bit earlier.
Definitely.
Do you think you've picked up any skills that were surprising? You know, you were coming to volunteer to give back, but do you think you've acquired any skills that you might not have had before?
For sure. Yeah, I would say a lot of the skills of, I think, learning to empathize with people that are very different from me or come from a completely different background. That's definitely a skill that isn't often thought about, but that came indirectly through working with all these different people, volunteering with these different organizations. I would say also probably another skill something that I gained from a lot of the volunteering I did was probably also like the amount that I learned from these young people as well, like the amount that they taught me, even in terms of their life experiences. Some of them came from very broken family backgrounds, and just seeing the resilience and the determination that some of them had in wanting to create a different life for themselves. I think there was definitely a lot of inspiration that I gleaned from that, just seeing how it would have been so easy for them to blame their circumstances on their past or their childhood. But the fact that they really wanted to strive for a better future, that was something that definitely brought a lot of encouragement to me too, for just the future generations, and even just seeing these people and being able to be a part of their journey and seeing how they'll eventually and already are impacting society.
Absolutely. So it seems like you have really spent, a lot of time in different mentorship roles. So what advice would you give to post-secondary students or even CPA candidates who want to give back? How can they, find the right opportunity for them?
That's a really good question. I would say try everything that you can, because you never know what might really spark a passion. I find there's so many different causes out there, and everyone has different giftings, or maybe everyone has a different draw towards certain causes. And so I would say, especially early on in university, or even when students are starting work or internships, I find that's a great time to be able to utilize all the resources that you have with both for universities, but as well as the companies that you'll work with. I think every organization is connected with so many others, especially corporations where you can pursue your CPA. Oftentimes, there are many nonprofit organizations or volunteering opportunities that are available. And so I would say the more that you're able to try, then slowly you can start to find your niche and then really steward your time that way and focus on a few areas that you really are passionate about. But yeah, I would definitely encourage just even the networking opportunities that are available through volunteering and giving back with different teams. I would say there's a huge benefit to just putting yourself out there, giving things a try, and then seeing eventually where you want to focus more of your time.
That's great. And I do think, for all of the students, definitely, all the students who might be listening, definitely, I think taking advantage of some of the opportunities that might exist on campus through clubs or whatever would be a good place to start as well.
For sure.
So I know you are no stranger to the CPA Education Foundation. I believe it was 2019 you received the Jazzit CPA Recognition Award. But I wanted to ask you, do you have any career highlights from the people or the companies you've helped? Or what has been your most memorable professional experience to date?
For sure. I would say, yeah, I am probably the first one is just the people that I've met that have been so intentional in really wanting to see me succeed. I think I remember as a university student, I was usually quite soft-spoken, maybe even a little bit shy. And I feel like throughout university, just finding people and mentors that I really trusted, I really learned to spread my wings and just build a lot of confidence and courage in pursuing a lot of the opportunities that I have now. And so I would really say there are some individuals I mentioned, and as well as so many others. Like I owe a lot of my professional and personal development to, and I'm very, very thankful for. And I think one of my most memorable experiences so far have been just definitely some of the awards that I've been nominated for. This one, of course, as well as earlier last year, the National Social Impact Award with KPMG too. I think
Congratulations.
These awards, I definitely thank you so much. I wouldn't have really even had the opportunity to be recognized for it if it wasn't for the people and the mentors. The partner of my group, Stavros, he has been instrumental too in really speaking up and highlighting certain accomplishments that I may not always highlight myself. And being able to probably just in relation to that, now one of my most memorable experiences is also being able to work with people who are early on in their career. And so I'm part of our peer coaching program at KPMG. And so I have a few different kind of mentees, both on a formal and informal basis that I meet with regularly. And we're just able to have regular touch points where they can ask me questions, where we can just talk about how they're doing. And I think that has been very, very rewarding for me, just being able to continue passing on the baton and just being able to share some of the things that I've learned from my mentors and through my experiences with others that are also starting out their careers.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times people don't really realize how, reciprocal volunteering and giving back can actually become. So that's really great.
Definitely.
So I think that is a very natural place to end things. Christine, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing a little bit about you, and congratulations on your Early Achievement Award. I'm sure as you continue on in your career, you will collect, a variety of accolades as you progress through your career. So I do really wish you all the best as you continue on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to another season of Straight from the CPA's Mouth. This episode featured Christine Leung, CPA, a management consultant at KPMG. Don't forget to subscribe to the Straight from the CPA's Mouth mailing list for exclusive content. If you like what you're hearing, have ideas for future episodes, or have any feedback you'd like to share, email us at knowledgecenter@cpaalberta.ca or leave us a comment on social media. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Straight from the CPA's Mouth is produced by the CPA Education Foundation, the charitable arm of the CPA profession in Alberta. This podcast is made possible by Brian Heshe, FCPA FCA. Thanks to Brian's generous donation, the foundation created the Heshe CPA Knowledge Center, a virtual hub of resources for all Albertans. Find out more about the Foundation and the Knowledge Centre at cpaalberta.ca/foundation.